Hello, everybody. Testing sound, and it works. Always good to check. Well, we're going to be continuing on with our implementation of, or my implementation of the toy programming language. This is a interesting project with a lot of fun computer science problems in it. Small computer science problems, but still. Oh, not see here. And we're good. All right. Last time I should have tested to find out whether this compiled and ran the tests because nothing I'm doing should be affected by any of the tests right now. Um, yes, so that's good. Uh, and I should probably record a diff and then do a push. Why that got, I do not like that my include files were flipped around and that this weird addition of the catch command line got stuck in there. I think some AI is responsible for that, and I don't like that an AI did that behind my back. There. Oh, there. That's where that belongs. All right. So Function declarations, parsing, yes. And we got moved away from where we are here in the, I could just find the to-dos. There we go. I could do that. I don't know. Maybe I'll take a clean pass at it someday and fix all that stuff up. So now we have to tackle a big problem. And that big problem is our variables have no type information associated with them. Not only do they not have any type information associated with them, but uh, the actual memory that's used to hold the values of the variables is typed to be unsigned integers only. And so the variables can't actually hold any values that are not unsigned integers. And it's a problem. Because the way I'm going to be implementing functions is they're variables assigned at compile time, or at effectively assigned at compile time, that have constant values, that have values that can't be changed. Basically, they're compile time constants that point at a body of a bunch of code. Which means they're going to be variables, right? And if they're variables, well, then that means we need to be able to store the value of a function in the variable. And that isn't going to be an unsigned integer, specifically an unsigned 64-bit integer. So what do we do? Oh, hello there. You know, one thing I meant to do is ask to see a picture of your rendition of the castle. It occurred to me after you left last time. Let's see, how do I store first? Right now, variables are stored here and they're a vector of strings. What I'm going to have to do here, and sadly, this is not going to work for the value. No. Let's see here. That's a good question. How would you get the picture to me? Store a link to it. You could, if you could come up with an HTML link to it, you can post that in the chat. What else? There's no way to private message me on Twitter. or on Twitch, sorry. I don't think. Oh, you can whisper to me on Twitch. I can whisper to you on Twitch. Here. Ah. Let's see. I'm trying to find a way that you can, how to give you a method of getting a hold of me on Discord. Um, uh, oh, this is taking a bit. There. I sent you a message that I hope might help. So either if you can post a link to it in chat, go ahead and do that. And if you can't, then go ahead and poke me on Discord. Well, you can send it as a file there, maybe. Uh, in here, we're going to have var infos instead. And can't construct one directly from a string, so that's good. Um, That's going to break a lot of things. I will just compile to find out what breaks. Yeah, just going to have to compile to find out what breaks because stuff will break. There. There's one thing that broke. Oh, how lovely of C++. Such fantastic error messages. Of course, that's Clang might do better than than GCC does in this regard. These are easy to fix. And this will just get turned into that. Emacs knows how to do this. Why doesn't this know how to do it? Oh, another one where the line is too long. This one, the line is already too long. How many of these do I have? Okay, this one looks a little more substantial. Well, yes, indeed. And at the bottom of all this, where is the actual problem? Like where in my code is the problem? Ah, find. And so this should be right. And predicate. What does it not like about this? Oh, we're looking for a particular name. I missed that part. Um, just to check. That should be right. Okay. There we go. This should fail. This should totally fail. Oh, looks like I have to change parser.hpp so that it will fail. Okay. Now, hopefully, yep, that fails. Okay. Okay, again, where from? This is annoying error messages. Yes, where is it ultimately needed from? There, that's where ultimately is needed from. Okay. And we have to change this to find if it's only 74, but once I make it a find if, it's going to be a lot longer. So this, yep. And this is in parse identifier. All right. That looks right. All right then. Now we can declare our function variable here. Um, and do I call declare var right now? Yes. But here I have to put in and that is still less than, yep, less than 89 or 80 columns. So we're good. Um, this will declare it in the enclosing scope because the new scope won't be created until this scoped frame here. And so this declare will happen in the scope that contains the function declaration. And then all the parameters have to be declared here. Um, uh, oh my. Um, oh, by the way, there were some bugs in this function that I found. I had a start not equal to finish in here someplace that I changed to a start equals finished because, yeah, the wrong sense would have caused it to basically not parse function parameter lists correctly. So I think it might have been this one where I made the error. So Ah, yes. Uh, Up here, I should be checking somewhere while I'm parsing this list up here. I should be checking to see if any argument occurs twice, because an argument name occurs twice. Because right here, this assert is basically assuming that no argument name occurs twice. All right. Okay, this should declare all parameters as variables. Here, what we should do is assert there we go. Ooh. Oh my. No, that doesn't have to happen here. It wouldn't be terrible if it happened here, but I'd have to modify var info again to allow var info to contain a pointer to the function, which don't know that it should. Don't know that it should. I can do it at runtime. Um, when the AST is being evaluated, I can do it then. Mm. Actually, All right. So this to do was about a previous implementation idea that I'm not doing now. So we'll just skip out on that for now. But so there's a function call, and that works. Or that's a function declaration, and I believe that that is correct. It does at least compile. I spoke too soon. Oh, there. I didn't need to do that. Much better. It would help if I paid attention to the types of my arguments. The reason why I'm doing it this way, I'm actually thinking I might at some point in time add compound data types like structs, basically records and older programming languages to my programming language. And if I do, then this var info is going to get a lot more complicated because it will have to contain some kind of reference to the actual variable, the type declaration. Um, not only that, but we're going to have types as a type of identifier too. And I don't think I want types to have to be a different kind of identifier fundamentally than variables. I want types to also be variables so that you can't name your function after a type or something like that. Um, I don't know whether I will use the variable declaration system for declaring types. I might. I don't know. But um, the this will mean that variables of a particular type will have to be uh, will have to reference the information about what type they are. And so making it uh, an enum for now works, but it will probably be something more complicated than an enum later. Uh, and then there are all kinds of implementation details like, will functions and things be like predefined types that can be referenced like any other type? Is that how we're going to do it? Is there some other way we're going to do it? I don't know. We're going to have a variant that can either be a reference to a user-defined type or an enum for a built-in type. Maybe. I also kind of want to add strings, so I might just extend the enum beforehand. But all kinds of stuff here. Now, um, okay, this part is done. Now I could implement parse func call first, or I could implement the variable declarations first. Um, not the variable declarations. I could implement the interpreter portion for function declarations first. I've been thinking about a lot, so I'm in the mood to implement the interpreter thing for function declarations. I really should separate these out into more things. This file is getting just too big, even though no individual function is huge, but the file itself is just too big. And so I should fix that at some point in time. Which one is this? I'm looking for simple evaluator, assignments, if statement, while statement, func. I have one here that should have implemented function declaration, even if I left it basically empty. Yep, I left it to do something rather than nothing. Yes, indeed. Something rather than nothing. That would be good. So what will that something be? Okay. There is a refactoring that's going to happen before I do the something rather than nothing. Okay. Can't do that because 72, I need 5 fewer characters. Two fewer characters. Could do that. All right, that works. I'm happy I wrote this because before I'd be doing all kinds of bizarre things to test the size of my commit messages so that my commit hook would work. But now, all right. Uh, I am curious about something. I'm going and asking a question of codecs just because I'm curious. Predefined ops. Yes, indeed. No, I do not need a standard library header file here. All right. So, first thing we need to do is completely change out how variable declarations work or variable values work. It's probably going to be in parser because it's going to be part of simple evaluator and context, part of stack frame. Here's the issue right there. Oh my. It's interesting to watch codec go and do its thing. What do we do here? No, I don't know why you persist in thinking that it's going to be bool. More of those than their raw pointers. Blah. Uh, Now, if only I could get it to study these commit messages. So what I was asking is asking Codex to evaluate my commit messages, because whenever I ask this thing to write commit messages, it writes commit messages that I consider far too verbose. And so I would love to train it to write better commit messages, but that's kind of an art. There's a lot of there's some amount of wordsmithing involved, and I was asking it, yes, and it told me that I did a really great job of my commit messages. But as I said, there's some amount of wordsmithing involved in writing commit messages. There was a message in the chat that was rather cryptic and weird about video download was canceled, and I'm not quite sure what they meant. So I asked for clarification. Hopefully I'll get it. This is going to break a lot of code. Well, not a lot of code, but it's going to break some code. Um, this is very interesting. My evaluator keeps a current result. I probably need to change the simple evaluator's idea of what the current result is to be this varval t, which that will break a lot of tests is what it will do. Do I want to do that or not? It's how identifiers return their values. But function calls are their own kind of thing, and they aren't going to use the identifier logic in the same way. The identifier logic is basically it's more like fetch the value of the identifier when it gets to actually calling, when it actually gets to calling this code here. This is fetch the value of the identifier. So what I can do, um, here's what we'll do here. Uh, not hash value. What is the right way to do this? No, no, no. There's get if. Time to look up variant. Yeah. No, no. Variant. There we go. So variant. Holds alternative. That's right. Okay. Contracts. C++26 is getting contracts, and this will be able to be done differently. Although this isn't a precondition, nor is it a postcondition. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure how to express it using C++ contracts, because they seem to be really interested in preconditions and postconditions and not in the conditions. I think there are, inside conditions though. So we'll see. We'll see how that works. Um, Now compile some more. This should all like basically the parser should catch all attempts to use identifiers that are not functions or that are functions as uh, as variables, and this should error out. Um, and it should also catch all attempts to use identifiers as yeah, to fetch the value of an identifier that is a function. Should also catch all attempts to call functions that are not functions, and error out on that too. And that should happen at parse time. And so this should be impossible to have happen at runtime. Fetching the value of an identifier that is a not that is a function, or well, that is not a uint max, because that's the only kind of other kind of thing that we currently have. Okay. No matching function call, blah, 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 blah. And then we go through a whole, there we go. Required from here. Ah. Oh my. Yeah. Okay. This is going to be interesting. That should actually work, because it should just initialize them all to be uint maxes. That's what it should do. And that's okay. They can change type at runtime under the hood, even though from a language perspective, they never change, their type never changes. So they can all start their lives as if they are uint maxes, even though some of them will get changed to be the names of functions later. Oh, right. Let's run the test to make sure all the tests still work. Oh, well, now we have to find where in our program uh, really. Well, now we have to take the debugger to it. Test group execute. So I think we're actually getting corrupted memory. Huh. Wow, isn't that special? Call stack includes none of our code. There. Now I don't have to go try to learn CMake. Although, of course, I will now go and look at the CMake list file because I don't trust it to actually do it correctly. But now it will give me a CMake list file that has the change that I want made in it. And then okay, that works. I should also figure out how to add new build types to CMake, because one thing I would like is um, a Valgrind debug. Although that might not necessarily be a thing to do with CMake. I wonder if I can do something uh, with what's it says with JetBrains here with Sea Lion to get Sea Lion to run it inside of Valgrind. If there's an option. Because this is basically the result of a double free or memory corruption of some kind. And let's make sure that the diff is exactly what it says it is. All the rest of the stuff are changes that I made. That was a much less comprehensive change than I expected it to be. Um, and yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And that's good enough. And no, I don't want any of this stuff. Nope. 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 Ah, no, not really. No, not really. Nope. 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 There. Okay. Now it's rebuilding it all to add the address sanitizer to everything. And hopefully we will figure out where the problem is. And here's where we discover that it made a mistake. And I needed to add a let's tell Dura here. Yeah, I'm using Fedora 41, which is kind of old. I'm actually thinking of moving to Cache OS or something like that. That is exactly what I want. All right, then. Hmm. Ah, so we are getting. All right, we are getting something wrong. So something isn't doing the right thing. Why doesn't that work? That should work. Hmm. So we'll look at parser test 252. there. Okay. Now we can go back in here, var decal. And then we can continue. Okay. So var decal. Var dx0. Okay. And the var info says that it's the name of the thing is 5 and that it contains a uint 64. That's the type that it's supposed to be, which that is correct. That is how that should have worked. Let's go back to the parser test. Yeah, var 5 equals 5. Yep. That's exactly what should have happened. Okay. So okay. So now we have the L value has been optimized out, which of course it has. But we know from this that the identifier is var dx0, and that in that scope it's 5, right? Okay. So L value will be stack frame T statement list var dx. Oh, I am sad because so then we're going to skip over this current value result. But if we skip over this, now current result, you went max T5. L value dot second first. And if we look here, var values, so why do these contain 3 and 0? Where did that come from? This is a top level statement list here, right? Where did 3 and 0 come from? How did those values even get in there at all? And we just had a spammer from the place that persistently spams on here. Whose name I'm not going to advertise. Okay. So this is a very weird problem, and I don't understand how it's happening. Yes. Very strange. How is 0 getting in there? Anyway, I am going to end the stream for now. Partly nobody's watching, partly this is pain. I think there's value in going and doing the debugging on stream. And I'm going to have to debate whether to do it on stream or off stream. Sometimes these debugging sessions can take a very long time. I almost would prefer to do the debugging off stream and then just lead through a short summary of what I managed to figure out. But that's what I'm tempted to do. But anyway, as I said, I am going to end the stream for this evening. I don't know that Friday evening was the best time to pick in the first place. Next time I'll try and do it Thursday evening instead. I just wasn't up to it yesterday evening. And I will, yeah, I'll be back. I'll probably be back on Sunday, honestly. And maybe I'll have it debugged by then and just tell you what I did rather than spend hours on it showing you what I did. This will vex me until I fix it. And I'm glad that I have tests because that's the whole purpose of the tests is to catch these kinds of things early on. And the change that I made was a significant underlying change to the way variable variables work. Variable values work. Variable values work. I guess the valuables of variables are their values. So that variable valuables works as well. I wish you all a good evening and Merry Christmas. In a few days, anyway. Well, yeah, 13 days, just a little less than 2 weeks.